Okay, class, this is going to be a video that illustrates what's going on with the PDF that I sent that has information about major scales and the triads in them, the chords in them, and also the modes that are represented by each scale degree from a major scale. So we've already learned the major scale 2 octave in G. I'm going to do everything in G major and illustrate what those things are, plus I'll put some of the triads in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and focus this on the fingerboard. Okay, so G major 2 octave is... And we know that fingering, so you can see that I'm just placing that same fingering. Now the concept behind each one of the scales that follows is to use the same notes from the G major scale, but you're starting on the next degree of the scale, which produces a different sounding scale, but it corresponds with the chord that is that goes with it. So here are the chords in G major. G major is 1, A minor is 2, B minor is 3, C is 4, D is 5, E minor is 6, and then I have on there F sharp half diminished 7. Look at the fingering there. That's the 7 chord. And I'm adding a 7th to it. And then finally back to G. So each scale has its own, or rather each chord has its own scale that goes with it, but everything is in the key of G major. So first chord is G, G major scale. Then the next chord is A minor, and that's the 2 chord. So if it's the 2 chord, we're going to start not on G, but on A, the 2nd scale degree. And when you play a 2nd scale degree from a major scale fingering, the scale you're producing is what we call a mode. Mode and scale means the same thing. They both mean scales, but generally we call these modes when they're not major or minor specifically. So the 2nd degree from a major scale, if you start on the 2nd degree and go up to its octave, A to A, it will produce what we call a Dorian mode. And you have to name the mode by the note that you're starting on. So I'm starting on the note A, 2nd degree of the G major scale. So it's called A Dorian because that becomes the tonic. It becomes the important beginning note. And the scale then proceeds with the same fingering you used, but you're starting on the 2nd note of the scale. So I'm still playing these fingerings. I'm just starting here instead. Same fingering. And that works for the A minor chord because the A minor chord is the 2nd chord in this G scale that we've produced. Then the 3rd chord is B minor. It is a bar chord. So in order to play the scale that works with it, I start on 3rd note of the scale and I go all the way up to its octave, to a B. That would be for B minor. On the B octave. That 3rd scale and the 3rd scale degree is called Phrygian. That's the mode name. And it starts on the 3rd degree. So you always want to associate scale degree with the different modes that follow those scale degrees. First mode, G major or G Ionian. 2nd mode, Dorian. I'm starting on A, so it's A Dorian. I'm starting on B, it's going to be called B Phrygian because Phrygian is the third mode. Next chord, the 4 chord, is a C major. And so for that I start on the 4th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4th note in the scale. And it will sound like this. And the scale degree being 4 is associated with a mode called Lydian. So I'm starting on the note C. 4th degree, 4th scale, 4th note in a scale from a major scale produces the mode Lydian. So this is called C Lydian because we're starting on the 4th scale degree of G using G major. C. Next chord is D. That's the 5th chord of G major. And I'll start on the 5th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I play that scale. Starting with the same fingering of G major, but starting on the 5th degree. That produces a chord, or a scale, called Mixolydian. So 5th degree is Mixolydian, and this is called D Mixolydian because I'm starting on the note D. Those are Ds. Next chord is E minor. That's the 6th chord of G major. So I will start on the 6th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is an E. I play the notes from E to E. The octave will be with my 4th finger. So the scale degree or mode that starts on 6 is called Aeolian. It's the same as actually natural minor. It's the same scale that we played up here, with a different fingering. Okay, so sometimes they call that Aeolian or just natural minor. It's good to know though that the 6th degree produces the mode Aeolian. And then finally I go to the 7th degree, the last one before the octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so now I'm going to play the scale that goes from F sharp, because we're in the key of G, 1 sharp, and the octave F sharp up there. So it sounds like this. I got to start with the right scale. So it's 3. It's an interesting sounding scale. It produces what's called Locrian. Locrian is probably the most dissonant of the sounding scales because it has diminished qualities to it. Again, it starts on the 7th degree. That's why we needed those 2 octaves to get up there. And then that is played with the 7th degree scale or chord. And that chord I've given to you guys not as a triad, which would be this. That's a diminished triad, but I wanted to add the 7 too, so it sounds like this. So 2nd finger here, 3rd finger on the 2nd fret, 4th finger 2nd fret, 3rd string, 1st finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. And so it looks like this. That's the scale that's the chord that's associated with this scale. Okay, so those are all the scales as they go from 1 through 7. They're mode names. Mode 1, Ionian or major, 2, Dorian, 3, Phrygian, 4, Lydian, 5, Mixolydian, 6, Aeolian or natural minor, 7, Locrian. Okay? And then I wanted to just show the triads associated with each one of those scale degrees and chords, because this is the full chord on a guitar. So the arpeggio, or the triad, would just be this: the 1 and the 3 and the 5, or the third, adding the 1, third note in the scale, fifth note in the scale. So that is your G major triad. I go back to the G. I like to go up and down the same way. Now if you start on the second degree, you have to play the third above the A. So it's the third note away. 1, 2, 3, that's the third, and then add the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then the triad will be A, C, E, C, A. That's the triad for A minor. And it's contained in the scale too. Okay. Then the next triad will be B minor. Starts on third degree, but it's got to go from the first note to a third above. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first, the third, and the fifth, starting on B, in the G major fingering and scale is going to be 1. So I'm going first, fourth finger, third finger, fourth. That's B minor triad. Next I start on C, fourth degree. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm doing the 1, 3, and the 5 starting on C. 1 is C, 3 is E, 5 is G. That is C major. Then I'm starting on the fifth degree, D. So I go 1, 2, 3, there's the third note in the scale. 4, 5, there's the fifth note in the scale. And I combine the 1, the 3, and the 5. So it's the fourth finger, third finger, first finger, back to the third finger, back to the fourth. That produces D major. Then we have E minor, starting on the sixth degree. So I go again, 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 1, the 3, the 5, back to the 3, back to the 1. That's E minor. First finger, fourth finger, third finger, fourth finger, first. E minor. And then we get to the seventh. I'm starting on the seventh degree, F sharp. And I got to pick the first, the third, and the fifth. 1, 2, 3. There's my third note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my fifth note. So I use the first note, the third note, and the fifth note. And so I have the third finger, first finger, fourth finger, back to the first finger. That's an F sharp diminished. And we were using this chord here. And then finally, in my PDF, I actually go to the G major again, all the way up at the top, which is fourth finger here, 1, 2, 3, there's the third, and then 4, 5, there's the fifth. So it'd be 1, 3, that's the first, third, fifth. But the fingering is pretty unusual in that, you know, I'm making you use your pinky. 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. So those are all the triads, just the basic notes in there, all based on the scale of G major, the key of G major, including the chords that go with them like a guitar, the triads, and the scales that have names, each mode going up 1 through 7, all the way up to 8. So hopefully this video will be good for you to be able to go back to and use as a reference. All right? Signing off.